Flash games, or as I like to call them, games of our childhood. The games you played on your garbage week laptop in school, where time came to a stop as you were sending your first Ooga Booga men on their conquest for glory in Age of War. Every single kid, in one way or another, came across these titles at some point in their lives. Whether you were saving your planet from aliens in Raze, or fighting your way out of the Colosseum in Swords and Sandals, and eventually wrecking your whole setup because the Flash version had no saves.
Are you f***ing...
Wait, you haven't done the last part? Well, your childhood was boring as shit. As I was scrolling my YouTube home recommendation page looking for the next vid that I could finish my meal to, I encountered not one, not two, but numerous YouTube vids and essays on old Flash games that I completely forgot about. I got stuck in an endless loop of binge watching videos about old Flash games. I watched Eonless video on World of the Dead, background gaming play Age of War, and then one channel that I took heavy inspiration from, and that is... Toddler Vibes. His whole channel is filled with him asking us, remember, insert old Flash game title. There are still so many new videos coming out about our childhood Flash games, and that inspired me to replay some of my, or maybe our, favorite ones. And I also want to talk about who made these games, how were they so fun and addicting, and why do the next generation of kids not get the same treatment? Where are their Flash games? And yeah, not just that, I just kinda really wanted to replay them now that I, understand English. As you might have guessed, browser games have been here long before any of us, as it was written in ancient texts. The first browser, not Flash, browser games were released in the early to mid-90s, and they were mostly text-based HTML games. The easiest way of describing these early browser games would be to just call them MUDs. Long-form multi-user dungeons. I have already done a little bit of research into MUDs, and I did try one myself just for shits and giggles. It could be fun if you were at least 80 years old and on your deathbed. There were games like The Palace or Earth 2025. It's actually pretty funny talking about Earth 2025 in the year 2025. Whoever made those choices back in the days and get us to this point in time, fuck you. 1 year later, in 1996, Adobe Flash Player was released and started its own era of games. I'd like to address one thing before I continue. If you Google the first Flash game, the result is Pico School, which released in 1999. Thanks to the article and its writer on Museum of Screens, we can easily find out that just isn't true. As he said, Pico School was one of the first Flash games that became mainstream, that's why it's considered the first ever Flash game. All the while, the first Flash game ever was... First, I had to read the entire article piece by piece. It starts with an introduction and contains 6 episodes of Flash game history and lore, ending with a conclusion. As the writer already pointed out, and as I noticed doing my own research as well, the Wikipedia page and Google are both extremely unreliable this time around. Both these websites include Pico School as the first Flash game ever. Extensive research into multiple database websites has uncovered the fact that they're all fucking bullshit. And then came a very easy answer. Who is the author of Pico School? It was a man named Tom Fulp. If you don't recognize the name, let me clue you in on the games he was part of or created himself. Pico School is the first on the list, then Castle Crashers, Alien Hominid, and lastly, Battleblock Theater, to name a few. Yes, he was the infamous man behind these titles. What an insane resume. I myself couldn't find his previous works before Pico School on the internet. Thankfully, the guy writing this article did his more extensive and impressive research. Pico School wasn't his first game, it was his third entry in the series, so how can it be the first ever Flash game? Released on 25th July 1999, but before that he released Dino Plays with Fire on February 25th, 1999, Teletubby Funland released in 1998, or lastly Club of Seal that released in 1997. In conclusion, by reading through the episodes of Museum of Screens, he talks of so many games that have happened before Pico School and were also pretty popular, like Blue Suburbia, a game which plays more like a piece of art than a game, as noted by him. What I want to say is, I'll still use Picoscrew as the starting point of the Flash era, but so you know, it wasn't the first Flash game. There were a lot more unknown titles lost in history before this, and the very first Flash game ever remains a mystery, which will probably never be uncovered. So Google and Wikipedia, fix your shit. And now we're finally getting to the good part of the video, the Flash era. Key platforms that gave space for young creators to publish their works were Newgrounds, Miniclip, Armor Games, Congregate. And man, these sites had some of the most memorable intros ever. Now, I'm an 04 baby. I was nowhere near the age group required to be living in the prime years of those games, but the second I could grasp a mouse and a keyboard, I hopped on sites like Pog.com or other Czech and Slovakian sites which hosted all of these games, so I still consider myself a person that got to experience it, compared to kids nowadays at least. And so, I've always been a little curious about how these games were made. Fuck. And a little curious about how these games were made. How about you? Have you ever questioned it? Do you ever question anything? Or are you just an empty husk vendoring this? Please. Why? I've done it again. And these Flash games were developed in, I shit you not, Adobe Flash Player. And playing them again to see how your choices changed, your playstyle changed, understanding, or how many differences you have missed as a little kid. This urges you to compare yourself to your younger self to see how much you matured. Okay, cut the crap. We're all here just to see these games, not listen to my deep psychological thoughts. And the game I wanted to start out with is Raze. And oh boy, did this game run like garbage. This soundtrack is so good. It kind of reminds me of the very old Call of Duty soundtracks, you know, the CODs where the warfare was not that modern yet. At least it sounds similar to me. You'll be the judge. Yeah, you know what? I'm not so sure anymore. As a kid, I always spent so much time in this customization screen, but what I hated in particular was that this customization only takes place in multiplayer. In single player, the game gives you random skins depending on the missions. That's lame, but we'll have to live with it. I still made a sick motherfucking soldier though. Time for the first level. In other words, the tutorial. Once again, this soundtrack. Man. I'm so embarrassed to show you this. I feel like an IGN journalist looking back on this part. Bruh. I love ragdolling this game so much. Using the rocket launcher, hitting someone straight on and then flying away in cinematic fashion never ceases to produce dopamine. But the real rocket abuse was just about to begin. I speedran past the first few levels using the rocket launcher. There's also this whole storyline in Raze of aliens invading Earth, us being the defense force, helping our comrades, and then once you finish the human campaign, you can be the alien yourself. I didn't do that, unfortunately. I still had 4 games ahead of me. If any of you want a whole Raze lore video, like, subscribe, and comment Rocket Amuser or something, I don't know. Check this sick kill out. I still got it. Ending level 2 with a KDA of 21-5, I was on a roll. It was now about to get pretty decently hard, and the second tutorial was getting us ready for it. After 5 minutes and achieving a measly 15-9 KD, I was about ready to 1v4 alien noobs. This next free-for-all mission is where I had a realization. This entire game and even the storyline / the current map heavily reminds me of Unreal Tournament. This whole human Earth versus alien thing and this spaceship map, the weapons, everything. I could show you comparisons, but I don't have UT anymore. Well, so after this free-for-all level, my run had come to an end. We were sent on a rescue mission to help one of our sergeants who lost his entire squad. And these fucking AI aliens have the most overpowered aimbot in this entire game. I kept getting headshots because the sniper rifles in the hands of AI with aimbot are too OP. And I just got killed by a shotgun through the floor. Yep, this is bullshit. I took my first L, time for the ratings. The graphics are very decent. Of course, I can't judge Flash graphics to anything else, so I'll just judge the smoothness of the animations and the art style. And to me, it's a solid 8 out of 10. The soundtrack, I can't even describe how fucking fire it was at 10 out of 10. The performance of the game, given it's a goddamn internet browser game, how the hell did it run so poorly? No clue. Overall rating 7 out of 10. The game gets overly repetitive after a while. Swords and Sandals. One of the pioneers and, dare I say, pillars of Flash games that's, surprisingly, still going strong today. I literally bought the newest SNS game like a few months ago. Revolutionary customization back in those days, and since I'm short as hell in real life, you already know we're going all in on the strength build. The armory and the weaponsmith, the sounds, the clicks, the anger that comes out of these sellers once you leave without buying. Oh, how much I've missed you. I bought the small mace and every single armor piece except the most expensive ones, since I'm broke as shit, and set my foot in the arena for the first time. Our very first Gladiator 2 against Imbelayo, who stands at a whooping 5'2". After exchanging a few shouts and a few hits, using a light attack, I one-shot this midget son of a bitch. And I once again have to mention the soundtrack. I'll keep pointing this out at every single game, but the music had so much life in it back in those days. I might just be tripping balls on nostalgia right now, but you can't tell me you don't feel something hearing some of these. Time to invest even more into strength, you already know what it is. I rage baited the smith and armorer one last time before heading out into the arena again. Another easy W at the hands of my 17 strength only gladiator. Now it was time to fight Wolfgang, or first ever champion battle. I was ready. I was pumped. Our build was OP, towering at 7'1". This was going to be easy money. Full of confidence, I launched at him, hitting him for... blocked. Well, that was quick, I guess. Time to go again? I'll do the strategy again. 14 strength, let's do this. No armor, no weapons. That didn't take long. I guess I really do have to change my strategy after all. I went into more attack now, buying a chestplate as my first armor piece instead of a weapon. The fight was worryingly close, but we managed to come up on top. I bought even more armor, disregarding weapons as I thought my attack level would prove useful enough. And so far it worked like a charm. This is going to be it. Second time's a charm, as I launched and hit him for 5 damage. He returned with 22. What the fuck is this? As I tried resting to regain stamina, Reed fucking Richards stretched his hand out and took a swing from 60 miles away, cutting off my arm. Now that's just some unfair, scripted piece of I randomized again, picking another high attack balanced build. Of course, it didn't work. So I tried again. And again.
Are you fucking...
Before deciding on doing the most pussy build ever. A high charisma, agility and stamina build. I would retreat before getting hit and I'd shout from distance during the entire fight, instead of approaching. It's a lengthy, but very safe strategy, and this time we were gonna go far.
Fuck off!
I wasn't gonna give up that easy. I knew this charisma build would work. I just needed to figure it out. It worked on our first test subject, on our second test subject, and eventually the champion arrived. We had him this time. What I didn't expect was that Wolfgang was going to mimic my strategy as well. I kept shouting, I kept provoking, rage baiting, and slowly draining his health. After a lengthy shouting match which took exactly 2 minutes, I believed I was in a position to attack. I landed a heavy attack dealing 8 damage, getting his health to 8. I missed twice, getting very low on health. I landed the last second heavy attack dealing 10 damage and defeating Wolfgang for the first time after 10 years of my life. I collected his sword, bought tier 2 armor and set out, feeling invincible. I beat the next few dangerous individuals using my perfect shouting strategy. I have reached the second champion, and it was the same guy I fought one battle ago? What? Knowing his weakness, I dismantled him in a few turns. I collected his eggs and set out further up the gladiator ladder. The next fight, my strategy wasn't working anymore. The opponent was deflecting all my shouts. I kept hitting only 1 in 7 attempts, and even then, he would regenerate the damage it dealt in 1 turn. I was frustrated, bored, and prepared to fight fair. I jumped in. It was very close, but my character wasn't built for this. Okay, I think I'll just hang up my Colosseum dreams on a nail and stick to rating games. I give Swords and Sandals an incredible 9 out of 10. The graphics are very unique and the turn-based and addicting gameplay loop was one of the key experiences of my childhood. I never really beat the game, ever, as I was never able to buy it and probably won't be buying it right now. I have the newest game instead. The soundtrack and sound effects are amazing, and to see the series go from this to what it is right now is incredible. Guys, I think we should do a video on Swords and Sandals, I'm not even gonna lie, gang. And that's another iconic intro I forgot about, Max Games. Oh, how long I wanted to play this one. Let's get to it then. My ears are blessed. I don't plan on repeating myself every single time, but the music, don't tell me shit. I started out strong with sending a few of my Ooga Booga clubmen first, but my main plan of attack is this. Let me break it down for you. What always worked for me during my playthroughs of Age of War is build up an impenetrable wall of turrets, which generate passive income since you yourself don't have to deploy troops because of it. Yes, you'll be behind on XP, but what that does is you save up a bunch of money, and by doing that, you get to send the strongest troops right away without needing cannon fodder. The strongest troop at this age is the Dinosaur Rider, and one of those can earn you around per deployment, basically generating positive return on investment. I've had economic thinking since childhood, no wonder I'm an economics major. And after earning up enough XP, we evolve into Age 2 civilization. The AI was there first as per usual. One thing that's always been unfair in Age of War was that AI has a lot more money than you at every turn. It pumps out soldiers the entire game, and yet it still has enough left over for the strongest defense sentries. All the while, if I don't save up for at least 2 minutes, I wouldn't have enough money for even one of those. But it is what it is. At least the AI doesn't have those OP abilities you, the player, has. I started out strong, pumping out melee plus ranged troops behind each other for maximum efficiency, while still maintaining our main goal of rushing for the strongest sentries. Even though I like to admit that the year 2 defenses are almost entirely not worth it. It's either this fire catapult which breaks a rock in 3 parts, usually never even hitting other enemies, or this oil pouring sentry, which is only useful if the enemies reach your castle, and we usually don't want that to happen. I still bought the catapult, even though it's in my opinion the worst defense. As soon as AI started spawning knights, I hit him with fire arrows and generated a bunch of money. This age has one thing much better compared to the others, and that it's the only age where you have an ability that still insta-kills all the enemy age 2 troops and has an almost 100% accuracy. Here comes age 3 now, the one and only age where you don't get a useful goddamn ability. I'm not saying it's trash, but it is trash. It's a few seconds of invincibility for all your troops, it's just that it doesn't bring as much income as the other ones do. Plus, this age has always been so incredibly boring. The cannon defenses are interesting and lame, the troops are yet another swordsman, a musket, and a cannoneer, which has the slowest fucking attack in the whole entire game. That's why I love to rush past age 3, since after this one is where it gets really interesting. At least to me, you know. So I pumped out a few of those cannoneers to get my XP up and evolved to age 4, the modern warfare age. Now this is where it gets real fun. From knife wielding melees to AR having ranged all the way to a fucking tank. And the ability is decent too, an airstrike, even though as I said after age 2, the abilities start declining in strength a lot, both in age 4 and age 5. The abilities can't kill the strongest troops your enemy sends. The sentries are about to get real OP, that's one thing I know for sure. The twin gun for 15k is the second best highest level sentry. You get 4 and you don't even have to deploy troops. Also, I repeated the process, saved up a lot, sent out army tanks, built up the strongest defenses and rushed to age 5 where we ended it all. Oh man, age 5. The future. Everything earns so much income and everything costs so much. The strategy is simple. Get 4 of the 100k defenses and win the game. And if you're asking how it helps me win the game, because these defenses have almost unlimited range and delete anything that stands in its path. I got to work, sent out a bunch of soldiers, saved up 100k and bought my first ion ray. Look at it, dude, the range, the damage, it's magnificent. And then I bought the second and the third, and then comes the fourth. And what comes now? Now we wait. We wait for our first 150,000 coins to send out the NOBO troop, the super soldier. After 3 minutes of watching my turrets take care of everything that spawned on the map, I sent him out. A singular 150k super soldier, a troop that is 7 times more expensive as the second most expensive troop in age 5. And no, I didn't plan on releasing just one. Saving up 300k, I sent out 2 of those bad boys, making sure I finished it at all costs. And look at him go, dismantling everything, tanking damage from troops and turrets alike, destroying tanks and the base in mere seconds. And that is the approach I take with Age of War. Not mindless troop spawning, but economic and defensive superiority. An Iron Dome accompanied by a counterattack strategy only Real Madrid in the Champions League could rival. The rating is soundtrack 10 out of 10, gameplay as a huge fan of strategy games 10 out of 10, no matter how simple or repetitive it gets. Graphics 10 out of 10 for its time. This is the first 10 out of 10 of the day. Age of War. What a game. And now on to the next game, which is... And that's going to be all for today. These are 3 of my favorite Flash games ever, but that's not all. I have a lot more footage already recorded, so if this video does well, we can do a part 2, part 3, part 4, and keep expanding our tier list. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about my ratings and recommend your favorite Flash games for a part 2. That's going to be it for today. Let's see what the future holds in store for us, and bye.